Hello parents and guardians, this is Miss Lewis, and today I will be discussing place value and regrouping with subtraction. This is an area that many students struggle with and need additional support. I gave students a problem that reads, Julie had 43 pieces of candy. She gives some to her classmates. Julie has 14 pieces left over. How much candy did Julie give to her classmates? As we went through this problem, I noticed that most of the students were using drawing to physically show 14 being taken from 43. A few students tried to set up the problem as a standard subtraction problem, but they did not borrow correctly from the next place value, making their answers incorrect. The students are new to regrouping with subtraction, so with word problems, students can visualize the numbers being used better. Now I'll show you a few of the ways I've seen the students do these problems. So the first way was drawing. There are multiple ways they draw, but most students did a tally mark type of system where they physically drew out 43 tallies and they would take them away, each counting backwards. So in this method, students only have to physically show all the components, but they don't have to regroup and they don't have to bother with the place value, so their answers are usually correct in this method. Now the next way I've seen is the standard subtraction, where they set it up as an algorithm and the students will just solve it the way it is. But because it's a regrouping problem, they typically have some issues with borrowing from the tens place. In the first example on the left, the student subtracted straight down, so they did 3 take away 4, which is not possible, and so they get technically a negative number, which is -1, and they go to the tens column and subtract straight down as well. This student didn't regroup, and so their answer is incorrect. The student on the right, they did regroup, however, they didn't keep track of their numbers, so in the tens column, the 4 should turn into a 3, and it'll be 3 take away 1 instead of 4 take away 1. So now I will show you how the students have a problem with place value, but they need place value to keep track of their numbers when they're borrowing. I have a problem that you can work on with your children. I will go through a few ways to help your children be comfortable with borrowing and subtraction problems. The problem is there are 54 birds in a tree. Some birds flew away. Now there are 36 birds in a tree. How many birds flew away? Students may respond to this in several different ways. I'm going to show you 3. The first way is the standard subtraction aspect, whereas we know that they have problems with regrouping with the place values. Many students will still try this way. To begin, students should start in the ones place, and you can physically write out ones and tens so that they can keep track of their place value and don't have to think about what they need to borrow. And it will get students familiarized with place value. So I wrote the place values, and the students can see physically that what they're subtracting if you write them separately on the side, and the students will be able to understand and just be able to have more exposure to seeing the place values. The next way is drawing it out, and a method to do that is with base 10 blocks. Many students are familiar with this, and schools typically have these base 10 blocks and individual units as seen on the right. And the students can just physically take away what needs to be subtracted. So this method is very easy for students to understand, and they can physically see like the place values, so 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and the individual aspect where it's the 54, so the 4 individual units on the side. The last strategy is number strings. This strategy helps students better with number sense and the process of getting to an answer. So students will be able to see how they see the relationship between numbers. This method helps the students break down the subtraction part. So I started with 54 minus 4, and then these are called jumps, and the next one is minus 10 because that's the next big gap, and then minus 4. So the students can see that and add the digits on top and get what's between 54 and 36. So I just want to thank everyone for chiming in, and I hope you have successful just tutoring sessions with your children. Thanks.